have the motor running, and I'm gonna go ahead and give it some revs and start spraying the fluid.
Is Techron really better than Seafoam? Or is that just marketing hype? Today, we're putting them through a real-world head-to-head test alongside Marvel Mystery Oil to see which one actually prevents carbon buildup inside an engine. Mechanics swear by different products, forums are filled with debates, and companies make bold claims. But this time, you'll see hard results, not just opinions. Stay tuned because the winner isn't the brand most people expect, and it changes depending on which part of the engine we're focusing on. Before we move on, I will like you to subscribe to the channel and like the video. Everyone has heard Techron's bold claim. It can clean a fuel system in just one tank full. The idea sounds simple. Pour the bottle in, drive as usual, and by the time you're through a tank of gas, your injectors, valves, and combustion chambers are restored. But what actually happens when you pour Techron into an engine that's already been through years of buildup and heavy use? That's the part marketing usually doesn't show you. When engines run for thousands of miles without treatment, deposits form in places that matter most. A rough idle often comes from carbon stuck to intake valves, making airflow uneven. Poor fuel mileage traces back to injectors that no longer spray a perfect mist, but instead dribble, wasting fuel. Even throttle response suffers, since carbon forming inside the chambers makes combustion less efficient. It's not just a messy engine, it directly affects how the car feels every day. So Techron is advertised as the one-tank miracle cure, a shortcut around costly teardowns or professional cleanings. But when tested on engines thick with deposits, the reality doesn't quite match the slogan. One tank treated with Techron definitely made things better. Smoother idle, improved response, and easier acceleration. The difference was noticeable while driving, and it's easy to see why drivers often report short-term benefits. But look inside the combustion chamber afterward, and you'll see that heavy carbon, the type that builds up after years, was still hanging on stubbornly. The improvement was real, just not complete. And that's where the debate kicks in. Enthusiasts on forums often argue over what fuel additives can or cannot do. Some insist that chemicals can't truly remove hardened carbon, that only invasive methods like walnut blasting or mechanical scraping will ever fully clear years of layered buildup. Others defend these additives as a practical tool, with mechanics even calling Techron a liquid tune-up because of the smoother idle cars often show after treatment. Both sides carry truth because the results vary depending on the type of contamination and how advanced it is. Take for example a single injector on an older high mileage car. Before treatment it was barely spraying, clogged enough to cause misfires. After a tank with Techron, that injector came back to life, suddenly restoring that cylinder's firing. That's a dramatic and functional improvement. Yet in the same engine, the cylinder walls coated with baked on carbon looked nearly unchanged after the same treatment. Two parts of the exact same engine, but two very different levels of response. Think of it like tackling a kitchen that hasn't been cleaned for months. One quick wipe across the counter takes away the crumbs and some stains, leaving behind a space that feels cleaner. But look at the oven, layered with years of cooked on grease, and suddenly one wipe doesn't even scratch the surface. You'd need elbow grease, time, and often harsh scrubbing to truly clean it. Techron works in the same kind of way. Fast relief in certain areas, but not enough to reset an engine caked from years of neglect. Still, the improvements can't be dismissed. For drivers who maintain cars more regularly, or whose engines show lighter carbon formation, that one tank cleaning can feel like night and day. Misfires may vanish, throttle response sharpens, and fuel economy edges upward. The myth lies not in Techron being useless, but in the expectation that years of baked-in problems disappear instantly. In lighter cases, it delivers meaningful results without any tools or disassembly at all. But here's where things get more interesting. If cleaning power has limits, what about the role of these additives in preventing buildup before it gets serious? That's when the story shifts from cleaning to protection, and where the differences between Techron, Seafoam, and MMO become far more revealing. If cleaning results were a mixed bag, prevention was the stage where one product pulled ahead, and it wasn't the one most people bet on. This wasn't about fixing problems that already existed, but about seeing which additive could keep carbon from coming back in the first place. price. And when you test that side by side, the picture changes completely. The starting point was simple. Take an engine, thoroughly clean it to remove as much prior buildup as possible, and then run it under normal driving conditions while adding one product at a time. Each additive was measured in identical doses, following the labels closely to keep things fair. No extra help, no shortcuts, and no skipping maintenance. By isolating the variables, it became easier to see what role each chemical actually played in stopping new deposits from forming inside the system. You might expect Techron to be the clear favorite here. After all, its claim is built on being a strong solvent. The assumption in the industry is that this strength translates into longer-term clean running. In theory, the harsher the chemical, the better it should be at keeping surfaces from collecting junk once you've already removed the worst of it. By contrast, Seafoam and Marvel Mystery Oil tend to be described as gentler, with more oil-based formulas often seen as old-fashioned or just light help compared to Techron's aggressive reputation. But assumptions don't always play out in practice. Looking closely at the results, Seafoam turned out to do the best overall job of keeping the engine looking clean across multiple points of inspection. After the same run cycle, valves treated with Seafoam showed noticeably less new residue. The piston tops were in better shape too, with no thick layer forming like what often happens after heavy driving without protection. For everyday drivers, that outcome matters because it proves Seafoam has long-term value, not just a quick placebo effect. But Techron didn't lose outright. The twist came when the cylinder head was examined in more detail. Here, Techron actually performed better than both Seafoam and MMO. The areas around the head stayed clear of the crusty buildup that usually forms from repeated combustion cycles. It's almost as if the solvent formula favored this specific part of the engine, giving Techron an unexpected specialty rather than a broad spectrum edge. Marvel Mystery Oil ended up in the middle of the pack. It offered some clear benefits, especially where lubrication seemed to play a role, keeping moving parts slick and helping prevent smaller deposits from sticking. But it didn't dominate in any particular category. It was more like a solid everyday support act, dependable, noticeable in its effects, yet not the standout in these prevention trials. And if you step away from the lab-style testing and listen to drivers, you hear stories that match up with these differences. Some loyal Techron users point to engines that run smooth year after year, even when the cars have logged high mileage. Others say Seafoam gave them better cold start results in winter, where cleaner valves seem to help the engine fire up more easily. You don't hear many people swearing by MMO as the best of the bunch, but plenty still praise it for its consistency and the lubrication boost it provides. There isn't a single additive that solves every problem. Techron, Seafoam, and MMO all have unique strengths, and the real mistake is running your engine with nothing at all. Consistent use matters far more than picking one perfect brand. So let me know, did Seafoam give you smoother cold starts? Or did Techron keep your injectors alive longer? Maybe MMO delivered steady results over time. Share your best and worst experiences in the comments below. And always remember, follow the recommended dosing. The real secret mechanics understand is simple. Using the right tool regularly keeps engines healthier for years.